Namah Shivaya. Do you think that living abroad is so easy? And do you think that living abroad is all fun? There are no difficulties to be faced? Now, I will give you some basic ideas about what living abroad can mean for most of you. First of all, talking about commuters, I would say that abroad, whether it is the metro or the railways or any other these kind of facilities, public facilities, you will not find any water to drink anywhere. Water is not available easily anywhere, even if it is a metro station or the railways. You have to buy a mineral water bottle in case you're thirsty and then keep it with you throughout. So, most of the time, you see these commuters taking a sip from a bottle and keeping that bottle either in their purse or in their backpack so they can take a sip of water every time they feel thirsty. So, this is how water is available in most of the countries. Now, let us talk about toilets. Toilets are also not freely available anywhere. In fact, in many countries, the toilets are paid toilets. You have to insert maybe $2, $3 into a machine, and then only the gate opens to go to the toilet. So these are all paid toilets. You pay $2 to $3 to $5 to go to the toilets. There are no free toilets at all in most of the countries. So you pay through your nose even for drinking and also for the toilets. Food is another problem in most of the countries. Food, if you are particularly vegetarian, it is very difficult to find food of your choice because there, if you ask for vegetarian food, then they would probably give you some kind of leafy vegetable boiled and put, with some salt and all, and they'll give it to you. And then lastly, they will sprinkle some chicken pieces or some fish on it and then give it to you. So ultimately, it ends up being a non-veg dish. So pure vegetarian food is a luxury in most of the countries. And basically, you will be kind of starving for good home food if you go abroad. Now, another tendency abroad is they have lot of non-veg, veg foods which is purchased by the persons and kept in the fridge. So, food for 1 month's supply would be put in the fridge. You just have to warm it up and eat it. Or you can just add a few things to it and then consume it. So, food is basically not fresh. It is stored in containers and in, kind of boxes which you keep in the fridge and keep eating out of them. So this is another problem because fresh food is highly priced and it is difficult to get in most places. In the restaurant also fresh fruit is very difficult to get. If you get freshly baked or cooked items, then these are very expensive. So these foods are to be kind of more tinned varieties and pre-cooked foods are more in use abroad. Another thing which you will notice in most of the countries is that when you go to a restaurant, they will ask you what you want to eat. So you can say you want a particular dish, a particular food item, maybe pizza, whatever. Then they will ask you what drink you want with it. So why do they ask you what drink you want with it? It's because many of these countries do not have a system of offering you water with food. So plain water is basically not to be seen most of the time. So the local population or other foreigners, they will say that they want whiskey with it, they want red wine, white wine, or beer to go with the food. But if you want plain water, then you have to buy a mineral water bottle to have with your food. So that is to be paid for separately. But there is no system of clean drinking water being provided with the food in case you go to any restaurant. So that is why there is a drink with the food. So with the food, what drink would you like to have? So that is the system. And naturally, when plain water is not available, so a person would like to gulp down the food. So beer, whiskey, scotch, red wine, or white wine, these kind of drinks are generally given along with the food to the guests in a restaurant or even at official dinners or other kind of luncheons organized by high dignitaries. You don't get plain water unless you actually ask for plain water deliberately, and then also you may or may not get it. So plain water is a pure luxury in most of these places. Vegetarian food is another luxury which you will not get in most of these places. So you will be starving for pure water, for plain water, for plain home food in most of these countries. Now we are so lucky to have so many kinds of drinks in India which are non-alcoholic. Like we have so much of plain water to drink. We have aam panna, we have lassi, we have buttermilk, we have milk of different flavors. Then we also have sharbats of different kind. We have nimbu pani, we have shikanji, we have kanji. So many drinks are available in India that I think a foreigner would go crazy if he's asked as to what kind of drink he wants in our country. So drinks is another issue which, along with food is offered. But why it is offered, I have already told you, is because a person needs to gulp down the food. So a drink is offered because plain water is not given abroad generally. Then let us come to the point of a couple who wants to stay abroad, work abroad. Okay, good. You have found a job abroad. You want to live abroad. Very good. Welcome. But do you know that a couple who's living abroad, he may be earning several thousands of dollars, etc. May be quite well off, but living in a house, he has to pay the rent, which is very high. Secondly, a couple or a family will not find any kind of help while living abroad. You can't hire a driver because it is too costly. You cannot hire a sweeper. You cannot hire the basic services which you take for granted in our own country. Like you cannot get a cook, you cannot get a babysitter. A babysitter would, basically ask for about $100 per hour, and night shifts would cause a more demand for money. So basically, outside help for domestic work is not at all available abroad, and you have to do everything on your own self, because you just can't afford servants, drivers, cooks, washermen, etc. abroad, and also babysitters in case you have a small child. So these expenses add up to a lot, and no medium income person staying abroad can afford these services. A driver is very expensive. In fact, it is mostly the millionaires and billionaires who can afford a driver. So you have to drive yourself also. So this is one of the reasons which kind of makes you think whether living in India is more comfortable than living abroad. Another aspect which is you may like to hear about is that neighbors there do not talk to each other. One doesn't know who is the neighbor. They don't mix with you. They don't talk to you. Their culture is different, and they generally don't interfere in your life at all. So you are basically isolated and homesick most of the time, unless you really kind of merge into that society and that kind of setup. So you are basically on your own in a foreign country. These, of course, are some of the drawbacks I've talked about. Some people may like to still go abroad and work there. Definitely, some other aspects it also appears to be good, like you may get a lot of dollars, you can earn well, you can, kind of plow back a lot of your income back to the country, and also perhaps kind of think of, you know, easily managing the government system there. But with all the bottlenecks, etc., consider all the factors before you move out abroad to another country. Talking about students, I have seen students living 2, 3 in a small room. They have to make their own food. As I said, nobody can afford servants. Eating out daily is also not an option because that is also too expensive. Then also they have to cook for themselves, eat, and then go to the class. They come back again, cook and eat, and again sleep, and next day the same kind of routine is there. So students are also kind of you know confined to this kind of activity most of the time. The reason why students go abroad is perhaps because they can do more research and more research facilities are available. But in India also, definitely we have very good institutions. As far as labor is concerned, the condition of laborers abroad is very, very, you know, pathetic. In a small room, about 10 laborers, 15 laborers sleep. They have a common toilet. They go out and eat something. There's no kitchen. Their contracts are, kind of for fixed periods. They are not able to, kind of come back to India when they want because their passports are with their employers. So it's a very pathetic condition for laborers. They are made to work about 10 hours or more hours daily, and whatever they earn, they generally try to send back to their families in India. Their condition is not very good there. They do not get any medical help, and medical help is very expensive abroad. So, even in the government system or otherwise, medical help for any kind of disease is very expensive. So, in fact, a person will blow up the entire salary trying to get medical assistance abroad. So, this kind of atmosphere is there. One has to kind of understand all these implications and not, kind of think that everything is wonderful abroad. There are some pros, there are some cons. One has to analyze all this very carefully before thinking of going abroad or settling over there. So these are some of the kind of observations which I thought I'll share with you, because you may think that everything is red carpet abroad. It's not like that. Things are equally difficult and perhaps more difficult abroad to stay and live in. Thank you for watching this video.